This house was designed in 1953, and today I want to try to build it using a software I've never considered using for my architecture practice before. And by the end, see if I can understand the plan, and maybe even have a little fun with it. I get a lot of comments and questions asking what software I use in these videos, and the easy answer is Autodesk Revit. It's a professional architecture software that I use every day. But I don't think that really matters. Sure, the presentation abilities are amazing and it can produce great results, but I always say, don't let the software choice stop you. Every year I meet students and interns who are interested in architecture, but they may not have access to the professional level software, so they use what they know. And in reality, good design doesn't start with the tools, just the ideas. I am going to show you how I build this in Sims, but it always starts with research and paper. I found this house in a 1953 plan book online. It's called the CoverGirl house, and I thought it'd make a perfect test for this. The first step in understanding any floor plan is to understand the scale. Now, this plan has dimensions, but The Sims, it doesn't. Everything's built on a grid of squares. So the first step is find a known scaled object and draw my own grid. One thing I know from experience is that most front doors of houses are about 36 inches wide. And conveniently, the Sims grid is also nearly 36 inches wide. So let's start there. There's something meditative about this first process. I know I'm just drawing lines over other lines, but the repetitive actions and physical movements really slow me down and allow me time to live through the plan. I know some people have the natural ability to visualize a 2D drawing into 3 dimensions instantly, but I've had to build that skill over 24 years of doing this, and I find that this helps me visualize through space. I don't know, is that just me? Can you guys see a 2D floor plan and instantly see what it looks like in 3 dimensions? Let me know. With the grid overlaid on the floor plan, I can now translate each room into The Sims, one block at a time. It wasn't going to be perfect, but close enough for me. As I started setting up The Sims, I'm reminded why I played this game so much as a kid. I did probably end up spending too much time just on character creation for a video that's going to be about a house, but that's what I like about the game. I very rarely played the actual gameplay. I just like making characters and houses. And that's why you veteran players may notice that I have a pretty large bank account of simoleons. Motherload for the win, am I right? Okay, so I spend all day working in Revit, and switching to The Sims does take a little getting used to, so I apologize early for the fumbling around and jolting camera work as I'm adjusting to different set of controls. Once I got the hang of it though, it started to become relaxing again. I wasn't thinking about how this wall will be constructed and waterproofed or what material use would be the most cost effective. I was just counting squares and vibing with the 70-year-old floor plan, slowly bringing it back to life. As I'm counting squares in this build, it does show one limitation of using Sims as a design tool. When I place things in a grid, it sometimes means things don't get placed exactly where they make the most sense. There's no half grid, and having to place things at exactly 3 feet isn't always the best option. Maybe there's a mod for that. I should probably look into that. If you know how to make it work in The Sims, let me know in the comments. With the house mostly laid out, I'm starting to realize this home is really huge. I started with the basic lot to build on, and this takes up almost the whole lot. I think there's something to be said there about reality too. While this CoverGirl house looked cool to me in the book, it probably wasn't intended to be like a starter home or accessible to most people. This was probably a showcase house that somebody would build when they wanted to show that they made it. I guess 4 bedrooms, 1,800 square feet for that time period should have been my first clue. As usual, once I have the shell of the building completed, I really want to make it lived in. And that's where The Sims can really shine. When I'm working professionally, I have to either custom make furniture and accessories or choose from predetermined models, and the catalog out the box is pretty limited. I do purchase software to give me more options, But The Sims does have a pretty good selection of furniture and options, all themed, so that's pretty cool. Right now I'm just laying out the kitchen, bedrooms, and bathrooms first because those spaces felt pretty straightforward in the layout. And I love the little things, like how The Sims takes 2 cabinets in a corner and just automatically joins them. Man, I wish my software did that. As a design tool, The Sims also does something my software doesn't. If I try to place a piece of furniture where it would interfere with something like a door or a cabinet, I just can't do it in the game. In the real world, you've seen or maybe even lived in examples where you scratch your head and wonder, did the designer even think about how to open this cabinet door without hitting the fridge? I'm sure you got some examples. Drop a comment telling me your biggest WTF design moment, because I think they're pretty funny even if they're annoying. So I got to the living room, placed the sofas and chairs as they seemed like they would naturally fit, and then realized, what is this extra space between the living room and the dining room intended to be used for? I scrolled through the different furniture options and activities and skills and placed myself in the mind of the original designer and thought, maybe a piano would be good here. A place to entertain guests. I don't really know, but I was picturing all those old movies I watch, and I remember seeing something like this before. But I did like the idea of this transition space. But I don't play piano, so I'm not sure what else would be here. What would you put here? With everything in place, let's see what the 70-year-old design actually feels like. From the outside, the curb appeal and overall form is amazing. I actually appreciate this detached garage that forms a courtyard space between it and the house, but I'm not sure this would be private enough for me. At least maybe not on the bargain bin lot, maybe on some acreage, which this size building is better suited for. One thing I do like about older homes is that generally at the entrance, the whole house isn't revealed all at once. There's a sense of discovery as the house unfolds and you get access further in. The living room, it feels comfortable without being oversized, and I love all these windows to get the light and the views. But if this were my house, we would definitely need some curtains to close it in at night. Next to the living room is the I don't know what to do here space. The piano's cool, but it takes up a lot of room, so I'm not sure what to do here still. The dining room, it's nicely sized, and actually because of its location between the kitchen and the living room, that actually knocks some of that formality down. And I could see this being a very used table. Homework on school nights, craft table on the weekends, dinner with friends, a true multi-purpose space today. Also, the windows looking directly out into the breezeway, that feels amazing. By today's standards, the kitchen's definitely compact, but it has everything within a few steps, so it's certainly efficient. I think I like this little breakfast nook the most. Something that apparently is getting popular around the time that this design was made. But the original brochure said it was to catch the morning sun, and if oriented properly on the site, I can see that being a pretty great moment of the day. The bedrooms are a bit funky in their dimensions and layout, but I think they work as they're not too big or too small, and I think the variety of sizes also allows for different uses. So the original plan made a big deal about the relationship between the house and the patio. And standing out here, I kind of understand why. This space is actually why I chose this plan in the first place. The idea of having plantings seemingly connected to your daily spaces feels intentional, and I think it's something we're missing in a lot of today's houseplans. Most houseplans today are designed without a site or context in mind. So adding this breezeway with plantings allows us to have that connection regardless of where it's built. Of course, for me, after building this in The Sims, I did want to see what it might look like in the real world. I didn't really need to, but I just wanted to explore it deeper and compare it to the Sims version. There's something satisfying about watching old drawings make that journey. From page in a plan book, to a game, to something that could maybe even be real. I didn't include the Revit process here because I wanted to focus on The Sims, but if you're interested, I'm going to put the full Revit build video and project files over on Patreon if you want to check it out. So what did we learn building this in The Sims? First, I didn't expect the game software to still make me think like an architect. The grid forced me to make decisions, the furniture placement tested circulation, and placing the furniture helped me live in the space, even if I still don't know what to do with that extra area. And walking through the house made me appreciate the 70-year-old design. Whether you're using professional software, graph paper, or even a video game, the tools aren't really the most important question. Good design, it just starts with an idea and an inquisitive mind. Thanks for coming along with me on this. Remember, stay curious and design with intent.